Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here with another Extravagant Few Minutes live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, on our Facebook page, which is the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And as always, you can see us on X at The Real Captain Lou. Hey, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Captain Lou Sports Network. You get all of our great programming live and archived, including all of our Extravagant Few Minutes episodes and the extravaganza with yours truly and my tag team partner, Mitch Bernstein. We'll be back with another extravaganza this coming Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here on the network. And also the 10th season of the ACHA Power Play. We are going on the road to St. Louis. The national tournament is coming up in March. That's where everybody's headed. And with the sprint portion of our schedule there on the ACHA Power Play, we invite you to catch up with all of our great podcasts there live and archived. But there's only one way to do it, and that is subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Captain Lou Sports Network. You get all of that great programming there. And as always, all of our shows on the network are brought to you by the official secondary market of the Captain Lou Sports Network, and that is SeatGeek. Use the promo code Captain Lou, and you get $20 off of your purchase. It is that simple. If there's a game you want to go to this weekend, week 18 of the NFL, we'll talk about some of the games tonight and tomorrow, but go to SeatGeek. Use the promo code Captain Lou, and you get $20 off of that purchase. Maybe you're in Detroit. You want to go to the Red Wings game at high noon against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Go to SeatGeek. Use the promo code Captain Lou, and you get $20 off of your purchase. It is that simple. All right, the Final Four is set for college football in the playoffs coming up next week, starting Thursday night in the Peach Bowl. It's going to be a dandy weekend of college football in the opening round of the NFL playoffs. If you're a football fan, you're going to be in Nirvana this weekend, and it's set up with Indiana taking on Oregon. Indiana just absolutely embarrassed Alabama in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. 38-3 was the score. And I got to tell you, at times, it didn't even seem that close. Alabama had no answer on defense for Fernando Mendoza and the running game for Indiana. Indiana's defense, they are legit. There is no doubt about it. And they proved to be, obviously, the only team with a first-round bye to win. 1-7 now are the teams with a first-round bye. But Indiana, boy, they're looking strong. As I mentioned, Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner. After the opening series, he was able to carve up that Alabama defense, and they just had no answer. Kalen DeBoer at halftime looked like he had the deer in the headlights look. When it was 17-0, they were interviewing at halftime, and he just looked like he didn't have any answer for that Indiana offense or their defense for that matter. I know their starting quarterback got knocked out in the second half, but it took more than that. It was going to take more than that for Alabama to come back in that one. So Alabama's done. Indiana moves on to take on Oregon. And please, please, please stop all this Notre Dame chatter about how they would have done much better than Alabama or some of these other teams. Ifs and buts, man, ifs and buts. All you had to do is beat Miami. Speaking of Miami, we talked about it. They're legit. I got to tell you, they could be my odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. Now, that defense against Ohio State was absolutely incredible. Ohio State had no answer for him. Ryan Day had no answer for Miami. And here's the thing with Ryan Day that I just don't understand. When he takes over the play calling, they take a step back. Look at that game against Michigan last year before they went on to win the national championship. And he took the handcuffs off of Chip Kelly. Well, he took over the play calling after Brian Hartline decided to take the South Florida job, even though he's going to let him hang around. Look what happened. It looked like they just took the foot off the gas pedal a little bit stubborn. Well, Ohio State paid for it. Take nothing away from Miami. That defense is legit. Carson Beck is legit. Miami's going to be a tough out. That's going to be one hell of a matchup when they take on Ole Miss in that other college football semifinal next weekend. That is going to be absolutely amazing. Speaking of Ole Miss, if you haven't seen them already, welcome to the big time Michigan's own Trinidad Chambliss, the Grand Rapids Forest Hills Northern standout. Of course, he led Ferris State to a national championship in Division II. He carved up that Georgia defense on New Year's night. in the Sugar Bowl. What a game he had against the Bulldogs. Clutch throws, clutch performance. Ole Miss is there. Couldn't happen to a better coach. I love Golding. And it's just another thing, maybe the grass isn't always going to be greener. Lane Kiffin, I know he took the money and ran like he always does, but you got to give credit to Chambliss and to Golding. They're the ones that got Ole Miss over the hump against Georgia. Now they get a semifinal matchup against Miami. That's going to be legit. Boy, it was great back and forth. Just what the college football playoff needed on New Year's night with those 3 blowouts beforehand, games that weren't even this close as the score indicated. So give credit to Ole Miss hanging on to beat Georgia. We talked about that. How about Oregon? Punkin' Texas Tech. Yeah, they just toyed with them, it looked like. Texas Tech had no answer on offense. Couldn't stop Dante Moore. It was just a great all-around performance by the Oregon Ducks. So it now sets up our semifinal matchups. This is going to be very interesting. Trinidad Chambliss going against that Miami defense in one semifinal. That's going to be absolutely amazing. That's going to be on Friday night in the Fiesta Bowl, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. The deciding factor, though, could be Carson Beck. Although I love the defense of Miami, Ole Miss, I think they're going to have a hard time stopping Carson Beck. He's the forgotten piece in all this all of a sudden. But Miami's defense, they are so legit. Boy, they look like monsters in the middle, don't they? It's going to be a test for Trinidad Chambliss. Chambliss could be one of the best quarterbacks in all the land right now. He's the last one standing out of the SEC, the transfer out of Ferris State University to the D2 program. This is going to be the key matchup. We'll talk more about it later on in the week. But boy, oh boy, am I looking forward to seeing this on Friday night. Ole Miss and Miami in this matchup between the against both of those two fine schools, the defense of Miami and the offense of Ole Miss. And how about a Big Ten rematch? A Big Ten rematch between Indiana and Oregon. This could be potentially the top 2 picks taken in the NFL draft, depending on where they lay. They're going to be the top 2 quarterbacks should Moore go pro. Mendoza obviously is. He's going to be the number 1 pick, probably by the Las Vegas Raiders. Whoever has the 2nd pick, if it's the Giants. I don't know if they're going to move on from Jackson Dart. Would they dare take Dante Moore? But I think those are the top 2 quarterbacks coming into the draft. And some draft boards, they've got Moore going before Mendoza. I don't see it, but this is going to be a rematch of those 2 quarterbacks. But again, that Indiana defense, can Moore solve them? And hey, you know what? You know who's underrated? It's the Oregon defense as well. Watch out for these 2 defense. I don't think Oregon's defense gets enough credit or the credit that they deserve. Mendoza's going to have to navigate through that defense as well. He's been able to answer the bell all year. We'll keep an eye on that, as it's going to be Mendoza against Dante Moore. It's going to be one heck of a matchup. In the Peach Bowl Thursday night should be one heck of a matchup. Sticking with college football, right now, 3,765 players are in the transfer portal. Unbelievable. My, how the times have changed. Used to be if you transferred, you had to sit out for a year. Now you can play right away. Now it's just whoever can bid the most for these college football players. And I got to tell you, I saw something on Twitter. I shared it this morning. Northern Illinois head coach Thomas Hammock earlier this year talked about the portal, and somebody retweeted it. And it was a great tweet. You know, these players are going after the money. And you know what? God bless them. You want to get the money, that's great. But are they really prepared for life after football? And I saw something else too, and you think about it. I've seen it more and more often now. These players that transfer out and go, you know, to another school or 3 or 4 schools, you see guys transferring multiple times. Is the grass always that much greener? I don't know if it is. A lot of these players don't end up playing anymore. A lot of them don't play at all. I mean, yeah, you get the superstars that go and make a big name for themselves all the way back from Joe Burrow on down, now Dante Moore, Mendoza. Those are the exception rather than the rule. And a lot of these players, they get over to these new schools. It may look enticing at first. Yeah, their wallets get heavier. But do they really play anymore? And does it really get them to the next level, that being to the NFL? and then, they don't get their degrees or whatever, and it's so yeah, go for the brass ring right now, but get yourself prepared for life after football, life after college. It's not all about the bucks, man. I know it's easy for me to say sitting here, but I don't know, man. I look at that and I just see, are they really prepared when they get out of college? Who knows? All right, let's switch gears to the NFL. 2 big games on the docket tonight with playoff implications in the NFL. First of all, it's going to be Tampa Bay hosting Carolina. Right now, Tampa is 1 game behind Carolina. Carolina 8-8, Tampa 7-9. Tampa a 3-point favorite at home against Carolina. The over-under on this one is 43.5. Tampa, with the win, they're going to need some help. Carolina, should they win tonight against Tampa Bay, they win the division outright. They get to host a first-round game as the division winner with a 9-8 record. More than likely going to be the loser of the Seattle-San Francisco game. Should Tampa win, they still need help winning the division. They're going to need New Orleans to beat Atlanta. I think New Orleans is going to beat Atlanta tomorrow. I like how Tyler Shutt's playing. They're playing with a purpose. They've got some confidence, do the Saints. So Tampa winning tonight doesn't automatically mean they win the division. They need New Orleans to beat Atlanta. And because if there's a 3-way tie, Carolina wins the tiebreaker. So they've got to win this one. Tampa does, and they're going to have to be New Orleans fans coming up on Sunday for them to win that division. Because if it's just Carolina and Tampa in a tie for first place, Tampa wins. But if it's a 3-way tie, Tampa's out. So they need New Orleans to win. And finally, in the nightcap, Seattle. They're going to travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. The 49ers are a 2.5-point dog at home against Seattle. Both teams come in this game with a 6-game winning streak. And it's very simple tonight. The winner of this game gets the division championship in the NFC West and the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. That opening round bye. They don't have to play the wild card weekend. So this is a big game for both teams. As I mentioned, both teams with 6-game winning streaks. You got Sam Darnold. Can he win a big game? Can he get that monkey off of his back? What about Brock Purdy? He's playing dynamite right now too. Both teams on a collision course. I think there's going to be some points scored in this one. Of the 2 games tonight, I'm going to bet the over on the San Francisco-Seattle game at 47.5. I kind of like that. I don't trust either team in that opening game, Carolina or Tampa Bay. It's pretty much a coin flip there. This game is a coin flip as well with Seattle and San Francisco, a 2.5-point favorite. Are Seattle on the road? Can they go into SoFi and win that game? Into Santa Clara and win that game tonight against the 49ers? That's going to be a heck of a matchup, 8 o'clock on ESPN. The Sunday games, boy, they're going to be snoozers. If you got something you want to do on Sunday, if you're an NFL fan, unless you absolutely have to watch one of your teams play, I suggest make your plans for tomorrow. If you got housework to do, whatever, got to shovel out your driveway, whatever, do it on Sunday because there's some absolute snoozers tomorrow. The only game of any real consequence is going to be Sunday night in that heavyweight matchup between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. That's for first place in the AFC North. A win by either team, they clinch the division. They get an opening round playoff game at home. More than likely against Buffalo in that opening round, as it's going to be a 4.5-point favorite, Baltimore going into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Is this going to be it for Aaron Rodgers? Can he win one more game, one more championship, a division championship, and get into the playoffs one more time? Is this going to be the last game for Lamar Jackson? Who knows? Man, it's going to be a dynamite matchup there. But we have to wait until Sunday night for this matchup between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. The winner of that gets the last playoff spot, which will be the NFC or the AFC North Championship, and they'll host an opening round game on Wild Card Weekend. Now, I know there's some consequence out there. I know that Denver, with a win against the Chargers, will clinch that division and get the number, or they'll clinch the number 1 overall seed. but it sounds like that the Chargers, with nothing really to play for, they're in the playoffs. They're going to rest all their starters, it sounds like. So they're pretty much handing it to Denver on a silver platter. I know that doesn't make the folks in New England happy because they still have a shot to get the number 1 seed, but it sounds like it'd be an upset should Denver. I think Denver's like a 13-point favorite in that matchup tomorrow. That's absolutely crazy. Here's a point spread that kind of surprises me. This point spread between the Bears and the Lions really kind of surprises me. Chicago at home tomorrow is only a 3-point favorite against a depleted Detroit Lions team that has nothing to play for. Now, I know Dan Campbell will be fired up. He'll try to get his players fired up. They're going to go in there, try to play a little bit of a spoiler. But the only thing really at stake for the Bears is whether they're going to be the 2 seed or the 3 seed. And if I know Ben Johnson, they got beat by Detroit by 30, I think it was, earlier this year in Detroit at Ford Field. You don't think they're going to come out fired up to try to hang one on Detroit? Penei Sewell's not going to play. Alex Anzalone's not going to play. Detroit's defensive backfield's banged up. Their offensive line is a shadow of its former self. Boy, as much of a Lions fan as I am, and you know I am, I don't see how Detroit hangs with Chicago in this one. I'm stumped that this is only a 3-point spread in this Bears-Lions game. I think it's the lock of the week right there. If you're betting on the Lions or the Bears, take the Bears -3. I think they're going to beat Detroit by double digits in that game at Soldier Field at 425. I don't understand it. That's crazy. As a Lions fan, I hope they beat the Bears, but I just don't see it happening. Well, I'd take the Bears all day long in that one. All right, let's go. The Red Wings, they're in first place still in the Atlantic Division. They're 1 point ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I think 2 points ahead of the Montreal Canadiens. Both Tampa Bay and Montreal both have 2 games in hand on the Red Wings. So this is a big matchup. The Wings lost a heartbreaker the other night in overtime to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now it's at Little Caesars Arena, high noon on ABC. It's a national game. The Wings with a chance to get a couple of points back on the Pittsburgh Penguins, try to keep first place in their grasp in the NHL, in the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference. 13 games today on the docket in the NHL. So big matchups today. Of course, yesterday they had the Winter Classic with the Rangers and the Florida Panthers down in Miami. They put on quite a show, I have to admit. I was a little leery of that with the Winter Classic in Miami, how that would look, and it looked pretty cool. And the Rangers took it out on the Florida Panthers. Florida, right now, kind of a shadow of their 2-time defending champion self, losing 5-1, but it's only January. We'll see where they are come playoff time. We said it last year about the Panthers. They kind of, I didn't they say they struggled to get in, but they turned it on once the playoffs started, and that's when it counts. So we'll see how the Panthers are once April turns around. We're going to really start turning our attention to the NHL now that the regular season of the NFL is over. College football playoffs are just about done. So this is where we go full bore on the NHL and the NBA. Speaking of the NBA, how about the Pistons? Still in first place in the NBA's Eastern Conference at 25-9. Come back to earth a little bit, but they still have a 2-game lead over the New York Knicks and a 3.5-game lead over the Boston Celtics. Detroit back in action tomorrow against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they'll look to get back on the winning way, 6-4 in their last 10. But again, still a 2-game lead in the NBA's Eastern Conference. The Pistons playing very, very well. And we're going to end the show here this afternoon, or this morning rather. I saw something yesterday, or this morning rather, but what happened last night in that Cal-Notre Dame game where Notre Dame ended up losing by 1 and their head coach went after the ref after the game, chased after him off the bench towards the tunnel after the game. It was kind of a controversial finish where they called the foul on Notre Dame. Cal made the 3-pointer. Then they waved it off. Cal's coach was all bent out of shape. Then they talked about it. Then they gave him the bucket again. Then they made the free throw. Notre Dame lost, and their head coach just went ape crap after the referees. When are we going to stop glorifying this behavior, this boorish behavior by head coaches, by assistant coaches, by players towards the referees? Everybody bemoans the fact that there is a referee shortage at the high school level. Gee, I wonder why. You see this action. I see it by parents. I see it by coaches. I see it by players at the high school level, at the college level, at the pro level. Yeah, I'm the first to admit I like to sit on my couch and bait the refs. But when, coaches are paid millions of dollars at these levels, at the college and pro level. And, I look at a guy like Danny Hurley, who gets glorified for his boorish behavior. Tom Izzo, Dusty May, you name it, any coach out there. They don't get one call that goes their way, two calls that go their way, and they're all bitching. They're all whining and complaining. The players are in the referees' faces. It takes so much for them to get a technical foul. And if, there's no fines, no suspensions at the college level. And if you criticize them after the game, the fine should be more than that. No, I get it. The referees aren't perfect and they need to be held accountable. And I know gambling has really kind of made things that much more tense for what's going on in the world of sports right now. But when is enough for this boorish behavior by the coaches and by the players towards the referees? It's an embarrassment at all levels. The pro level, the college level, the high school level, you name it, junior high. There's going to come a time when there's going to be such a shortage of referees. You're going to have to go to this automated system. There aren't going to be any more referees out there. And then everybody's going to bitch and moan about that. It all evens out in the end. Now, if you looked at that Michigan State game against Nebraska last night, yeah, there were some calls that went against Michigan State. But that call at the end of the game that sent Carson Cooper to the line for a chance to tie it, yeah, that was a little shaky. So please don't tell me one team has the edge over the other. Everybody's team gets screwed, right? And hey, like I said, I'm one of the culprits. I'm a hypocrite when it comes to it. I sit here and I whine. But I watch other players and I watch coaches and I watch players do it. And it just, again, I ask again, when are we going to stop glorifying these coaches and players at all levels? The NBA, college football, the NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, all the pro sports, all the college sports. When are we going to stop glorifying this behavior? Because it is boorish and it's embarrassing. They make absolute fools out of themselves, and you wonder why there is a shortage of referees out there at the high school level where they've got to reschedule games to Saturday from Friday night because nobody wants to referee anymore. Nobody wants to take this garbage that's thrown at them from people in the stands, people on the field, coaches, players, whatever. It's getting out of hand, man. And last night, the way that Notre Dame head coach handled himself after that game against Cal, he should be suspended for at least 6 games. Somewhere a lesson has got to be taught on that. We'll see if it actually happens. All right, that's going to do it. I'm off my soapbox. I'm going to enjoy the football tonight and enjoy the rest of my weekend. I hope you do too. We'll be back tomorrow with another preview of the NFL. We'll look back at today's games in the NFL as well as what else is going on in the world of sports. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for taking time out to be with us here on your laptops, your computers, however you watched us around the world here on An Extravagant Few Minutes here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. Until next time, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your mind.